Well, good evening and welcome to the Arbor Hills Nature Preserve in Plano, Texas. Tonight's exercise is a field test of the Fenix E35R. I'm going to have to take the box away before it blows away. I want to thank Fenix Lighting for sending me this light and making the review possible. Well, what do we have here? This is marketed as an EDC style light. I have average size hands, so that will give you kind of a frame of reference. This is a 21700 based light, so it's got a bit of heft to it. You want to think about that before clicking on the add to cart button. Have a magnetic base, that's kind of a fab thing now. However, you also have these areas where you can attach a lantern. So notice that the mag base does not extend to cover the entire tail area of the light. So if you want to mount this up against something, make sure it is flat and smooth, otherwise it could slip down or fall because of the weight of the light. Now, the other consequence of the mag base is that you have a single side switch to control everything on the light. Like most Fenix lights, this is very flush, but this area is slightly raised. So if you're worrying about finding the switch, you can either run your thumb along the edge here till you feel that raised area. Although beware, especially if it's a bit cold, you'll get a similar feel from rubbing your thumb up against the charging port cover here. Or you can keep the single clip in line with that switch and then use the clip as a guide to get directly to the switch. Now, you make it to the switch, what do you have? The usual 5 output modes: eco, low, medium, high, turbo. Half-second hold to turn the light on and off. Click to cycle through the output modes. Memory for eco, low, medium. If you turn the light off in high or turbo, turn it back on, it will be in medium. There is electronic lockout. There is no direct to turbo. So that's your UI. On the subject of turbo, we have a very impressive number right here, 3100 lumens. Well, that's very interesting in this form factor of light. Here's the TK16V2, same peak lumen output. It seems very impressive that you get the same beam from a much smaller light. But they're not the same beam. This is less than half the peak candela, so this will have a much more floody type of output, something more in line of what we would expect from a typical EDC style light. The other thing you're going to get in addition to 3100 lumens is a lot of heat. So this output is going to be heavily regulated. So I've always thought that if you have a light with multiple output levels, it's probably the medium and high levels that should sell the light. Those will likely be the ones that you will use the most often in realistic applications. Think of turbo as something for occasional intermittent use, maybe 15 to 30 seconds. It's great when you need that short-term boost. Just keep that phrase short-term in mind. Now, if that expectation matches your anticipated use cases, your next question is probably along the lines of how well does this light perform under realistic circumstances? Well, let's go find out. All right, the bridge output levels. We are starting at eco. Look down closer to the creek. That's low. We have maximum line of sight this year, about 38 yards roughly. Up 1 to medium. I'm going to move to my right to get better line of sight through here. Got a lot of blooming going on here in the spring. then high, and already this is illuminating beyond the angle that I can show with the iPhone. And there's everybody's favorite turbo. Let's start out with a typical EDC style application. We're coming up on the playground here. I'm in Eco. This is the classic case of your kids were playing here earlier. You lost something, they lost something. So not bad. Let's bump that up one and go into low. I think I'd probably want to do most of my searching here in low, but we do have some other lighting around. You can get kind of your first idea of how the beam looks in a realistic example. Very, very wide hot spot. All right, let's go look at a path following example. You could actually follow a concrete path pretty easily in low. So I've got it up in medium now, and we're following a dirt path. This is more challenging because we have to look at the contour of the ground. I can see it already well ahead of me that it's sloping to the left. We have these areas where there's been drainage and storms, so that's caused some depressions where I could trip. We've got rocks, but the one thing I notice about medium already is that not only is it good for path following, I've got some reasonable, not great, but reasonable situational awareness around me. I can see far enough downrange to catch eye shine. I can see well ahead of me which way the path is going. I've got very good visibility inside trees, in between trees. So overall, not a bad output level at all for just very basic path following. Here's another example in medium. I've gotten well off path, increasing the distance. I'm trying to find out kind of where the edge of the envelope is. We're in a nature preserve inside a city, so there is light pollution from the surrounding city. So I think this makes for a very good test environment. Certainly it seems like identifications inside of 20-25 yards, detections possibly out to 40, maybe 50 if it was darker. All right, let's go do a test in high. Some bonus footage. Can you see the Bobcats? We've got at least two. All right, they heard me. They're gone. This is my favorite high test, looking out to a tree line that goes off to my left, and by the time it goes out of sight, it's well over 100 yards. And in high, I can make out that the tree line is there. I can make out the shapes of the trees, but I can't really get any detail. Then we move back to a much closer range. You can see just how huge that hot spot is at distance. Again, a very low candela light, so we don't expect it to be long throw and penetrating. Well, everybody wants to be a movie star tonight. We had a couple armadillos making an appearance. Oh, there they go. Well, guys, you didn't make it through the screen test. Sorry. Wait a minute. This guy wants a second chance. Oh, there he goes. And this is one of my more favorite turbo test areas. We have a gap between these two tree lines in front of me that you can barely see. And then I probably need to move over this way. There's a second tree line off in the distance that is in excess of 175 yards. So I'm in high right now. Let's bump that up, go to turbo. Now I can make out that there is a second tree line out there, but again, absolutely no detail. Let me pan around here. You can see the hot spot versus the spill. I'm already getting heat. I'll do a burn down test next. Well, you may have seen this shot before. The lit observation tower on the left, a dark pocket of trees in the back. About 58 yards from my current position, we are in high. And here we go. Bump that up to turbo, and I'm just going to let it run. See what happens. Now I've got my fingers comfortably away from the head area of the flashlight. I'm already feeling some heat. More heat, but not making me pull my fingers off yet. Yeah, I'm definitely starting to see a little something. The heat has not gotten any worse. Yeah, there we go down a little bit more. The heat is holding steady, not being forced to pull my fingers away. I mean, for an EDC, you still have a pretty usable beam. But again, I just want to emphasize that, you know, that 3100 may sound great, but I don't even like to call it turbo mode anymore for most lights. I like to call it NFL mode, because we all know that the NFL doesn't stand for National Football League. It stands for not for long. Okay, I'm going to try and take this up to near 2 minutes, and then we'll call it. This is still looking a bit better than high, but not quite the way it was when I first went into turbo. All right, we're a little bit over 2 minutes, but hopefully that'll show you what a 2-minute burst, or roughly 2-minute burst, looks like in turbo. I want to point out that after each of the turbo runs, I let the light completely cool down before going to the next test, which in this case is at the top of the observation tower looking across the bridge about 25 yards to the other side, and we are in medium. So this simulates a situation where there is a tiny bit of light behind me, but I cannot see across the bridge. So let's say I hear something, I want to light it up real quick. Medium does the job just perfectly. Let's go up 1 to high. I mean, we can even look back to where the trail goes off to the left there. So yeah, medium and high working real well for this particular case. So this is another test in high. This is a shortcut path that I'm on right now, but I'm definitely off the paved path. I'm just kind of looking at high as a general exploration mode. We're out night hiking, not just following a path, but really checking everything that's around me. Never know what might be downrange. Animals are definitely starting to come out this time of the year. And I have to apologize for the filming. I'm kind of mostly watching my footing, not the camera. All right, well, there goes the obligatory rabbit. We had to catch one of those tonight. And this is another shortcut path often used for maintenance, so we got a little bit off the beaten path there. High is doing an excellent job in terms of downrange situational awareness. All right, I think I'll get back on the paved trail and make my way back up to the parking lot, and then we'll do a couple more tests. So I'm back up to the picnic area. We've got some lighting, some dark spaces. So let me bring this in medium. We'll just take a brief tour around here. All right, walk back this way. And then I'll bump it up to high. There we go. Pretty much going to wrap it up for the night. My general feeling is that if you get past price, features, UI, weight, form factor, all of that, you put a light under realistic circumstances, it ought to be able to sell itself. And I'm not in the business of selling anything. I just run the tests. So on the subject of test, if you'd like to see additional environments, additional type of test, comparisons perhaps, leave a comment. I'll see what I can do. And as always, until the next review, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching the video.